Must have gotten distracted by Quentin's muscles. She's not really asking the questions that I need her to ask. She is giving him a pass here, pass there, pass everywhere.
Well, do you have any more questions for me?
Listen, hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Told you guys about Ready to Love and breaking down Lee, Quinton, and Muffin's, friend date, right? Now, I think it's quite interesting. Lee says that, Muffin was just given a pass here, pass there, pass everywhere, and she's not lying. I think the reality of the situation is there are several maybe factors that are played right now. I'm not going to say it is one thing, but we can start to speculate a little bit, right? As to why Muffin was unable to really vet Quinton right in front of her. Let's break it down. But before we get to that stage, do me a massive favor. We're trying to get to 100K right now on subs. And we want you guys to help us on that journey. Yes. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. We like to break things down on a deeper psychological level. And if you're new, like the video, share it with somebody, and again, subscribe, and then click on that bell button, the black bell button on there, because that lets you know when I'm going to go uploading or when I'm going to go live with you guys. And I go live quite a bit, so you know already. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Stay hydrated because the streets out there are hot. Let's talk about this situation. Okay, Muffin, the best friend of Lee, and also the party friend, who we couldn't really get a story in terms of the depth of their relationship. Now, Quinton did try to press them both to try and get an answer, which Lee obviously came out and said, no, she's the party friend. I'm a bit more of the grandma, but they met in a club. So obviously 12 years ago, they were friends. I mean, have been friends for 12 years or so. They met in a club, but Lee isn't that type to be out and about. That's not her kind of MO. Fair enough. No biggie. And, Muffin seems to be the person who's a bit more of the party goer. I wonder if that is best friend or one of best friends, right? Because I think we have different components and we have different friends, right? If we're going to go out, Muffin's that person you're going to choose, and maybe she's got some good conversation. I wonder if that's an actual bestie, right? I'm just speculating, because oftentimes we have people that choose similar values to us as our best friends. So I was just wondering, just a little thought process. I think what we see here with Lee, Muffin, and the Quinton situation, why couldn't Muffin vet Quinton the way that Lee wanted? Number one, let me say this. It's interesting. Of course, Lee mentioned it that, she kind of given her a pass, but I wonder what information Lee actually gave to Muffin before she arrived there, because Muffin seemed to be oblivious of what kind of information Lee had come into. Because the previous episode, Lee had spoken with Quinton, and I believe her mood towards Quinton has changed. Because by the last conversation with Quinton at the ex's date, and what he said about he ghosted her, I wonder if her mood has changed towards him. So yes, of course, Muffin didn't grill him maybe the way she wanted, but if her mood hadn't changed to him, or her energy hadn't shifted towards Quinton after that last date, would she have minded as much? Maybe not. Maybe not. Right. But because now also Lee is aware now that there is actually some other things at play with Quinton, and I generally need to have a bit more depth of understanding of what dimensions he comes with, so I can really assess who he actually is. I think there was more pressure on wanting Muffin to do the hard graft and work. What's interesting is that Muffin kind of at the end of the conversation was like, there's not much to say here. I know what's going to happen. This is your type. Now, it's interesting to say that because two things come to mind. Either Muffin doesn't know you anymore in this current season the way she used to know you, or she knows you and you're not really being honest about what she knows, right? Because she was like, I think on a physical level, Quinton, quote unquote, might be her type. But I remember listening to her interview, and her type necessarily isn't based upon having muscles. So Quinton wouldn't necessarily fall into the physique type, because she's open to what attracts her. Muscles are not really necessarily what really drives her, she says, right? Because she's in a similar field. And I think that's a conversation in itself that we need to have, that muscles don't attract her because she's in a similar field. Okay. And I'm not saying that because I got muscles, okay? I'm just saying that because I'm like, But then the comment stands to say, okay, I know her, I know what she likes. Quinton's the type, right? He's got the right energy, right source, And she's not lying because clearly Lee has been attracted to Quinton. But the issue is now he's not showcasing the commitment or necessarily the drive and attention that she requires to keep them in this place. Because the friend wasn't wrong. Lee's definitely involved with Quinton. She definitely feels for Quinton. So Lee is not, thinks she's not wrong. But the problem is, has Lee shared this information with Muffin? Right? Something tells me that she did not share some of the details that she has learned and how she feels necessarily about Muffin. Now, she might have had several reasons why. She might have felt like, I don't want a biased opinion. I want one that's going to be very open and real. I want one that's going to be without my judgment already on it, maybe. Another aspect might have been that also, too, that rather than sharing the information, she might have hoped that Muffin would pick up what she picked up and just, kind of go with the flow. I felt like sometimes Lee wears a lot of her feelings on her facial expressions, but doesn't necessarily articulate it. And I think that's what I feel sometimes when I'm seeing her on the show. Now, maybe she's thinking about the perception of how she was looked at as a Black woman. But again, we're seeing a similar situation here. She's not angry, but she's frustrated, but her facial expression is saying it, not necessarily her words. I can't remember if she actually said it to her friend. She might have done. I'm not sure. I think she kind of mentioned it a little bit towards the end as well. So I think she did say it to her eventually. I think the friend got caught up, right? She knew that was Jessica's kind of type. Knew that was kind of Lee's type. But I think and maybe I was speculating. I wonder if the friend also found him attractive. And sometimes when you find someone attractive, you can get lost in the source. You don't ask the questions you're supposed to ask. Sometimes you get lost in the dynamic of the conversation. It's flowing, it's going well. And Quinton's a very vibrant, engaging, charismatic individual person. You would have seen that even here, if you just watched even this part, how he's leaning forward to almost kind of show this authenticity that he's really involved in the conversation. He's been drawn in, and that can throw a person off if they're not aware of what's actually going on, what's being said. And so Lee wanted more of the answering the question to be more tougher and more direct, maybe, and a bit more expansive, get more depth from him. If actually the question that Muffin were asking, Lee's not in any better position than she was before, and neither is Quinton. So, it almost became a waste of time in some sense, right?
Not at the moment. No. You did good, but so far, I think I know where this is probably headed. Okay. I like that.
Now, it's interesting because their conversation, where Lee's obviously letting her know that that she wished she could have had a bit more. I think Muffin's a sweet girl, though. I think she's really nice and really a cool person. So I can see why Lee's friends with her, because I think with Muffin, she just keeps it nice and light. I think she keeps it nice and light about her situation. But let's watch a little bit more and see the conversation between the two of them, and maybe we can break it down.
Grill him like really, really hard.
You gave him the easiest.
I did. I kind of lost my train of thought a couple times.
Now, why did you lose your train of thought a couple of times, Muffin? Maybe because he was kind of cute. You thought he was cute, and that made you lose a thought. And Lee was definitely not impressed by that. She definitely was annoyed by that because she mentioned it in the confession. She mentioned it with Tommy. It really did frustrate her because, again, I believe because her position has changed towards Quinton. She's no longer taking it easy on Quinton because she's now opened her eyes to see. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. You know what I mean? She now sees him for what he really is. And she's like, I think there's more to this I need to explore. And wanted Muffin to go a bit deeper, but it unfortunately didn't happen. It happens, though, sometimes. All right? Muffin needs to look at it. She got caught up in the spice of the smile and the good looks.